Hello everyone, my name is Shreya Parekh. I am a grade 11 student and I will be your host for this podcast on teen mental health with our first focus on peer pressure. Through this series of episodes, I would like to bring to you the insights of a counseling psychologist, a student, and parents. Through this series, I would like to explore what is peer pressure, how it affects us, and how it can be avoided. Let's dive in to the first episode with counseling psychologist Mrs. Vaishali Nayak.
My name is Shreya Parekh. I'm a student at grade 11 in Edinburgh International School, and today I bring to you the first episode of my podcast on teen mental health. So through this series, I want to dive into peer pressure and how adolescents face this, and even in general, I think most people right now, even older generations, even my grandparents, I've seen them face peer pressure. So it's really a universal problem. So today I have Miss Vaishali Nayak with me here today. She has done her master's in counseling psychology and is currently practicing as a counseling psychologist. She also holds a diploma in child counseling from the Indian Institute of Counseling Psychology in Pune. In addition, she is a color-based art therapy practitioner, bringing creativity into her approach to therapy with 17 years of experience as an academic tutor and over 7 years as a child and parent counselor. She has been actively helping families navigate challenges in areas such as academics, teenage anxiety, parent-child relationship, career guidance, and emotional and social development. She has also conducted numerous online and offline guidance sessions for children and parents along with group sessions for schools, focusing on issues that truly matter. It's an honor to have you here today, ma'am. Welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Shreya. Thanks for such a warm welcome. Thank you.
So, my first question to you would be today, what inspired you to specialize in child psychology, child and adolescent psychology?
To be a child counselor, we need to understand a child. Okay, and I love working with kids, especially teaching them. My mother is a teacher, so I have genetically borrowed from her these traits. And when I used to teach the kids, what used to be the issue is I could find that academically and IQ wise they are stronger, but there is something which is running in the background that's affecting their performances. And this made me venture into what it could be, and that started the liking for understanding a child's mind, and that is where I pursued my master's in counseling psychology so that I can connect to them in a much better way and understand them in a proper way for their overall development.
Oh, that is such a nice background story for that. You said your mother was a teacher. So growing up, you would have noticed her talking about her students.
Yes,
right?
absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So you must have noticed, when she was teaching older children, adolescents specifically, she must have gotten stories about children trying very hard to fit in. So why do you think this need to fit in arises during adolescence?
Shreya, actually I could just answer it in one sentence, the root answer maybe, that a human is a social animal.
Yes.
So all humans want to be accepted, and they want approval. Actually that reminds me of a famous movie, I don't know whether you have seen it or not, Castaway, whereby it's having the Oscar winner actor Tom Hanks. So he's just the gist of the movie, because it's somewhere related to this topic. He got stranded on an island, and what happens is now there is no human there, and now he has to first survive. So he started satisfying his basic needs: food, shelter, and clothing. Exactly. And later on, once this got satisfied, what he did is, I don't remember what it was like a coconut or something. So he took it and he took a stone and he started carving the human face on it. Okay. And then he gave it a name and started speaking to that coconut shell. Okay. And so that gives us an idea how much a human needs interaction.
Socialization.
Exactly.
Yes.
So of course peers or kids are not different. They of course need some type of interaction, especially their own company, and that is where this thing fitting inside the society. Okay, it's not only
It's
for kids.
innately biological.
Exactly, it is inherently biological. It's for everyone, each one of us.
As a teenager, I feel so seen, I feel so heard, because honestly, even if like one day I don't talk to anyone, or like I haven't seen a face, especially during COVID, those 2 years I think
Yes.
was very hard on everyone,
Yes.
because we are social creatures, as you said
Exactly.
rightly. So I think we've noticed like in 2020 during the coronavirus epidemic, we saw a lot of trends arising. Maybe that came from this place of trying to fit in, of trying to have some kind of social interaction.
Correct.
Right. Also, during adolescence, there are a lot of biological and psychological changes.
Absolutely.
Right. So, how do you think those contribute? Does that emotional turmoil somewhat contribute to people succumbing to peer pressure?
Shreya, it is not just physical or psychological. It's in all fronts of a human development, whether it's social, it's emotional, it's cognitive. So when a child is turning from a teenage, maybe he's in a teenage and now he's slowly and gradually moving on to his youth or young adult. So the hormones, they are on a roller coaster ride.
Definitely.
Yes, and that brings a lot of changes in them. And now they are being bombarded from all the sides. So it's physical, emotional, social, academic. So it's like that. So from all sides, the child has to see that he's up to the mark, and that really creates a turmoil in the child. So of course, peer pressure is just a part of it. And as I said, social approval. He wants to increase the social circle basically, and he wants to be accepted, validated by his peers, by the society. And that's the reason there is so much pressure on the child, and it keeps on building and it becomes a peer pressure gradually.
Definitely, talking to you, it has really deepened my understanding of peer pressure. So, I wanted to ask you about, in your years of experience, have you ever encountered a case which was very extreme, as in the child was changing everything about themselves, just trying to fit in?
Due to some confidentiality issues and of course ethical issues,
course.
we are not able to discuss much on our cases. But I can just give one
A
short glimpse so that you understand in a better way. So I had one child client. Okay, so he was just let me give it a background to you that he was basically from a small hometown, and there the primary education was good, but the middle school and the higher school level education was not so good. So the parents, what did they do is they put him in a boarding school.
Okay.
So he was ready to go because his cousins or his siblings, elder siblings, they were there. So there was okay
He was
about it.
comfortable.
He was
Because
comfortable.
they were familiar faces.
Exactly. He was familiar, and it was in Panchagani. He was being kept in Panchagani, and his grandparents were in Pune. So he was very, very comfortable. So 2 years, 3 years, it was okay. But once he came into his 7th and 8th grade, the parents noticed that when he comes for vacation, he's not ready to go back. Okay? So he's very hesitant. He cries. Okay? And then they called the boarding school, the concerned authority, and the authority even they said that his boy cries at night. He gets nightmares. He's not able to sleep. Okay? And then, of course, then he was being sent to a counselor, whereby she started investigating this case. And lastly, the reason was that he was being bullied there, and that created a pressure on him because he was obese.
Okay.
And the kids there started body shaming him, and this resulted in, of course, a negative peer pressure, and that's the reason he was reluctant to go back to the boarding school. So this was only one of the cases. There are many such which go to an extreme level as well.
Yeah, I think recently, even with social media coming up, we've noticed a lot of bullying, cyberbullying as well. So from all fronts, I think the younger generation is
It's been a target.
Yes, definitely. So even on this topic, talking on this topic, how do you think adolescents can resist these negative effects of peer pressure? How can we be more resilient, you would say, to this?
Ishia, before I go into this, I just want to help you understand what does this pressure means. Now, usually when we say pressure, it is always assigned with a negative connotation. But pressure is not always negative. It can be positive as well. Okay. So when we say peer pressure, so it can be positive and negative. Like positive peer pressures, like encouraging your peers. That is one type of positive peer pressure. Okay, negative, of course, which discourages your peers for some any constructive activity, or makes them sad, depressed. Okay, they can go to such a level that they may self harm themselves or others also. This is the negative. Apart from that, there is one more classification, that is the direct and the indirect pressure.
Yes.
So when we say direct pressure, it is like whenever you are encouraging your peer with your words or with your gestures, you have a small clap.
Yes.
Okay, so that becomes direct.
That has a very big impact.
Yes.
Even though we think nothing of
Nothing,
it.
but it has, yes, it has impact. It may have more impact than what your parents clap for you.
Yes.
Sometimes it may happen. Okay, so it's like that. When it comes to indirect peer pressure, it is like it is not verbal, but the person gets a peer pressure in an indirect form, in his imagination. Okay, like I will give you an example so that you understand it a better way. Like suppose there is a girl and she's a healthy girl,
Yes.
having a proper height, weight, and looking just pretty like you.
Thank
So
you.
and she's having one of her friend who is lean, and maybe lean or size 0 figure or
Yes.
whatever. And maybe this first friend, she's very conscious about that. That when I go with my this lean figure friend, so I will be considered as
As
fat or obese, and this is the indirect form of peer pressure. Whereas she is good, she's good looking, she's healthy BMI, but this is the type of indirect peer pressure which is in our mind.
Yes.
Okay, so it doesn't, no one other contributes to it. So it's very important for the child to understand what type of pressure he is going through, whether it's positive, whether it's negative, whether it's direct and indirect, and that really helps him further so that what actions he can take accordingly,
Yes.
so that he can overcome this challenge.
Yeah, as you said, peer pressure can be both negative and positive, which is very rightly said. So I can draw a personal example from my life. I have a friend, right? When she came out of this COVID period, right? So she noticed everyone around her getting extremely good marks, and in some way it had a positive impact on her as well. She strived to improve herself academically. She strived to actually learn things better. But somewhere in the back of her mind, it also had a negative impact where she was constantly thinking about how she is not good enough, how she should be better as well, right? So I think it's something which is very gray, right?
Yes.
It can push you to self-improvement, or it can also have a detrimental effect.
Exactly.
So what would you say are some warning signs where you, for parents or anyone who's taking care of teenagers, like what are some warning signs to notice that the peer pressure is having more negative effects than its positive effects, and it's time to intervene?
Warning signs are mostly visible at home, especially. Yeah, even in schools, but sometimes the child pretends as if nothing is happening to him due to
So you
peer
would look at
pressures.
the child
So
and
yeah,
it's natural.
but it's like the natural effect what it has. It is seen at home. So parents are the first, maybe the supervisors for these issues. Okay? So most of the thing is like they go into withdrawal symptoms.
Okay.
So they may not talk to their peers. So it's like if the parent feels like earlier the child was so outgoing, sociable, and he used to freak around with his friends, and suddenly now he's saying no for going out.
Yes.
He wants to be at home, especially just closing the door, and he's with these electronic gadgets, or may not be the electronic gadgets, also just sleeping. Again, if the child shows eating disorders, that is also one thing
It's
which
also a
has
big
not.
concern nowadays.
Yes. Okay, so this type crime spells, anxieties, phobias, nightmares. So these are the symptoms. So the parent should understand there is something wrong. It may not necessarily be peer pressure, but could be that. So
But
it
these
can't
are
be
some
ignored.
warning signs where you know something is definitely wrong.
Yes.
Yes.
And in schools, if you're talking about for the teachers, academic performance is a good indicator. Like the child was giving a good performance for so many months, years, and suddenly it is dropping down. It's not just one case. It may be 2-3 exam consecutively. So of course, then there is a cause of worry.
Cause for concern.
Yes, cause of concern. Yes.
Definitely. So, as we were just talking about peer pressure and its positive effects and its negative effects, do you think self-esteem has something to do with peer pressure affecting an individual? Like, for example, if an individual has lower self-esteem, do you think that peer pressure would affect them more so than someone who has a positive self-esteem, a positive self-image?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Self-esteem, if I simplify it, it's like opinion about yourself, how much you value yourself, how much self-worth you consider for yourself. So it's like the person who is having a good, high self-esteem is able to face this challenge. It's not that he doesn't have that challenge in his life. He has that, but he knows how to face it. Okay? So he's equipped it. Like this I can attribute to so many reasons, like it may be the parental support or the support from his teachers, or maybe even his peers. As I said, a lot of positive peer pressure, okay, so that must be there, which must be overshadowing the negative one. So these things are there, so he must be getting a good support, direction, and of course he must have himself built in a good self-confidence so that he can tackle this pressure.
Definitely, I think that was very relevant. What would you say for someone who has low self-esteem, like a teenager with a low self-esteem? How would peer pressure negatively impact them, right? As in, like, what would it do to their relationships with like their close friends or their parents, right? Does it? Do you think it affects?
Yes, absolutely. Like a child who is facing the peer pressure, what happens is he starts showing the withdrawal symptoms, okay? Then anxiety, frustration level. And what happens is this frustration level, which is the outside one, it starts showing with the relations which is inside the house.
Yes.
Okay. So parents may not be able to understand that. Okay, the parents may think that maybe he's back answering or maybe he's disobedient.
Yes.
So
It's
so it's
often
very important.
misunderstood.
Yes, it's very important for the parents to communicate and connect to the child. So there is a transparency which helps. If the relation is transparent enough, connection is good, the child will be having more trust on the parents and he will be able to share it with them. Okay. Apart from that, for a child, it's very important that he puts trust on some adult so that he can share about his feelings. So if he feels he's not able to tackle his problem himself, or now this problem is it's now getting to such a level that he may do something wrong to himself or even to others, so it's better that he confides with some adult, teacher, parents, of course, or counselor, professional help. So there is nothing wrong in it.
There's nothing wrong in it.
Yes.
It's said very well said by a professional.
Yes, it's very important. Just like when we fall ill, we go to the physician, right?
Yes.
So we don't mind to go, right? We never even go give it second thought.
But there is always this stigma.
Stigma, exactly. It's a social stigma which is attached to this. But there is nothing to get scared. There are so many counselors, so many helpers now, so that you can which can guide you.
So that you can express your emotions and
Exactly.
not hurt yourself and or others.
Exactly. Yes.
Talking about social relations with parents, close friends, how do you think social media is in this new generation? Social media is very rampant, and almost every child nowadays is on their phones, much to parents' dismay. But how do you think this new social media era is affecting these adolescents? How do you think is it decreasing their ability to have a very high self-esteem? Is it decreasing their cognitive abilities also somewhere where they're more susceptible to peer pressure?
Yes. Social media is playing a very important role in the life of each one of us. Okay? And yes, attached to it are pros and cons. So it's like since we are talking about peer pressure, so let me give an example. So on the social media, most of the kids like to share their photos or they want to comments, and then now what the kids start judging his value among his peers in terms of the likes or the comments what he gets. So suppose if he is getting less likes than his friend, so maybe he gets an indirect, what I talk about this indirect peer
pressure.
As you mentioned. Yes, exactly.
Indirectly, he's thinking, although nothing has been said to him directly.
Exactly.
But they're thinking in their head.
Exactly. It's in the imagination that what's wrong with me? Did I wore something wrong, or was my pose not correct? Something of that sort. And then this starts creating a pressure on them.
Internally,
yes. Apart from that, of course, there are some now the issues are like boys want to hang out with girls, girls want to hang out with boys. Again, there are the issues of boyfriends, girlfriends.
Yes.
So these all issues come, and these are more shared in the social media photos and all.
Yes.
And there may be some sort of misunderstanding, and and this may also create some sort of peer
Peer
pressures.
pressure.
Okay.
Definitely. How do you think peer pressure is like different from parental pressure or the pressures children are facing at home or from their families? Do you think like there is a difference between like social media they're talking to their close friends, they're seeing each other's stories, right? So is that a different kind of pressure from parental pressure?
Yes, of course. Even though not 100% different, but yes, pressure is like basically getting influenced by someone. So, of course, if it is by parents, then it's called parental pressure. If it is by peers, it's called as a peer pressure. Parental pressure is basically what the parents expect from the child, and those are not being met.
Okay.
So the
So I think
parents
in
start
India, a very
pressing.
relevant example would be academic pressure.
Exactly. If the parents are doctors, they want the child to be a doctor. So,
yes.
so that's the mentality. Now, of course, it's changing because I have seen many parents now they are opening out with so different options, even if they are in a different career prospects. But again, saying so, in case of parental pressures, sometimes the child may think it as a pressure, whereas the parents just want to guide them. So let's say it in this way that the child first should have this type of a outlook that what parents are saying may be out of their experience and they want the best for the child. So first the child has to think let it consider as a wise opinion or wise advice from someone who is experienced.
Experiences.
Yes.
So it's very important to differentiate between what is actually pressure or what is actually just someone trying to guide you or influence you in the right way. As you said before, pressure can be just, it can have a positive or like a negative impact on you. So it's very important to differentiate between whether a parent or a mentor is guiding you as a parent through experience or rather than pressuring you. I think during adolescence, due to all the crazy hormones, the big changes, I think everyone is a little emotional. Definitely, I think that is one of the challenges of adolescence. But we must always keep a level head. Correct? So, what actionable advice would you again give to parents or even teenagers themselves to not, as you said, withdraw or negatively let peer pressure negatively impact them?
Okay. Since coming back to your earlier thing, what you said about pressure and what we were talking about, advice from the parent, which is being considered as a pressure, even sometimes there is advice from peers also.
Yes.
Some kids don't like that.
Yes.
Even though that is a positive peer pressure.
Yes.
Okay, so they are like, why do you have to say like that?
Exactly.
Or they may take it in the wrong way. So it's very, very important for the child to first calm down, take deep breaths, think for a while, and not be impulsive.
Definitely.
Because usually most of the things, whether it's a parent, whether it's a peers, most of the thing happens impulsively, misunderstanding especially. Okay? So it's very, very important for the child to understand that whatever advice is being given by the peer or the parent, let me see whether it is good for me or not. Let me give it a second thought. So once he controls his impulse, then he will be able to think in a better way. And why is it so, Shreya? I will just tell you because whenever we have a thought process, what happens is when we are thinking of something, and if you are overthinking of something, so other thoughts are at the background.
At the background.
Okay. So what we have to do is the other thoughts, which may be logical thoughts, we have to bring it to the forefront. Yes, exactly. And for that we need a proper relaxation techniques or maybe even deep breaths would help.
Yes.
And that will help you to think more in a rational manner.
Definitely, I think that is extremely good advice because even personally what I've noticed is most of even when teenagers lash out or when they get angry or when they get very upset, if someone is saying something to them, or even if it's something positive, it's because it's just an instinct or rather it's just a rush decision, an impulse decision, as you said. So, what other relaxation techniques do you suggest? So, deep breathing is one of them, very effective.
Before telling the techniques, I just want to mention one example.
Yeah.
Let us consider two friends are going A, B in a shop. Okay. So the A is a child. It's an electronic shop, and you know how much the youngsters are fascinated with the electronic gadgets nowadays. So he has a habit of shoplifting. Okay. So what he does is he sees some electronic gadgets and he shoplifts. Okay. And there is a B, his friend. He sees to it, and the A insists him as well. You also do the same thing. So what type of pressure it will be? It will be a negative peer
Negative
pressure. Okay. But now what does B does? He calms down. Of course, he feels that also lucrative, right? He's also a youngster. He also wants that. But he relaxes. He thinks for a while. He goes to A and he says that no, I'm not going to do that because this is going to create moral consequences for me along with legal consequences as well. So what are the legal things? Of course, he will be caught, right?
Yes.
Then moral consequences will be he will always consider himself dishonest, his self-esteem, what we were talking about, will be lower. Social consequences, everyone will be considering him as a thief, at him as a thief. So it's now what did B impact on is the positive peer pressure on the A1, because he reminded him of the consequences. So it's very, very important that just like you face the peer pressures, you should see that you have a positive peer pressure on your other friends. So that also really helps.
That definitely, I think it was very insightful talking to you. I think I learned quite a few new things. I understood myself and others better, definitely. So is there some final message you would like to give our listeners?
Yes, you were talking about your more things like apart from the relaxation techniques.
Yes.
So I just that day I just read it from some book, but this like this youngsters should implement, not only youngsters, everyone in their life. So it's the SDM policy. So it's an acronym. Okay. So S is the satsang. Satsang is a Hindi word. So satsang means good company. So when we say good company, not necessarily it has to be the company of your friends. It can be the company of books. It can be the company of your atmosphere. You are in nature, so of course it's a satsang, right? So you have to take care of this, that you are in a good satsang. Of course, it is not 100%, it is not possible, but most of the time you should see that you are in that company.
Definitely.
Now D stands for discipline. Now that day I just read a book and there was some small cartoon there. So there were two mountains shown. Okay, the first mountain it represented efforts. Second mountain it represented success. Okay. And then there was a bridge, and that bridge represented discipline.
Okay.
So even if you put a lot of efforts but you are not disciplined, the world knows, understands that you are not an organized person, you are not disciplined, you are not on time, okay, you are not submitting your project on time. So they don't want that.
Consistency is key.
Exactly.
Discipline is what's going to be.
Consistency, discipline is the one what you are going to make sure that you reach success.
Yes,
okay. M is what we have already talked about, that's a meditation. But it doesn't only include just breathing exercise. No, meditation is like when you sit with yourself even for 5 minutes and just observe your thoughts, what's going on in your mind. Okay. Introspection, what we say.
Yes.
Whether the thoughts are good, bad, don't be judgmental. What is coming to your mind. Just sit with yourself. You have 24 hours in a day. But
I think you can take out 5 minutes.
Exactly, you can take out 5 minutes. And soon you will not know that this 5 minutes will turn into 30 minutes and sometimes 1 hour also. And then you will start, thinking how you must be now thinking like how people meditate for 1 hour. But once you start with it, you start getting addicted to it. But you have to put up efforts. Starting with the efforts are very important, at least for 1 month. And then you will get addicted to this good things.
I think being a psychologist, you also know that there's a learning curve as well.
Exactly.
So definitely meditation will take, and using these relaxation strategies, it does take time, it does take effort, it does take practice. But I think combating peer pressure with these, I think would be extremely beneficial to teenagers, especially during this online age with the rise of social media, online trends, comparing yourself to influencers as well. So it was extremely insightful talking to you. Thank you so much for being on here, and see you guys next time. Bye.
Thank you, Shreya. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to put forward this important topic in an adolescent and a teenager age life. Thank you so much.